Hello, everyone, and welcome to our webinar today. So on our session today, I wanted to spend a little bit of time on the topic of handling objections. You know, it's interesting that when you think about all the buyer and seller objections, most of them have been the same for decades. And of course, different situations going on in the market or the world, it'll change it a little bit. And yet, for the most part, the same objections come up again and again. And I was thinking about something the other day. I thought, you know, if you just took every common objection and had 3 to 5 great ways of handling that objection, and you drilled, you practiced, you rehearsed to where you were so good that you could get on a webinar like this and teach the heck out of it, I feel that you would prospect more. You would seek out more challenging opportunities because you would know with confidence whatever came up, you have the answer. So I hope today I encourage you to dive deeper a little bit into those 3, 4, 5 objections that often stump you. Spend a little bit of time practicing and rehearsing, because after all, if there's just one thing that you could do that would suddenly improve your conversion, it might be becoming more confident in handling objections. Let's start though, before we start doing some role play, and I'm gonna click my slide here, having just a little trouble with the slides. There we go. I wanna just take a minute to, whoops, hold on guys, there we go again. It's going crazy on me. There we go. I think I have technical challenges with Zoom today. I wanna take a minute just to set our thinking about objections. You know, if you're like me, maybe when you got into the business, you were told that an objection is simply a question in the mind of the prospect or one of their limiting beliefs, right? And while that may be true, it also could be that they're just venting thoughts out loud. I'll give you an example. What if you're showing a home and a buyer says, oh, the master bedroom's a little small? Is that an objection? Well, it is only if it comes up again at the point where you're trying to get that buyer to make a decision to buy the home, and it's standing in the way of that decision. However, at that moment, they might just be simply thinking out loud. And that's why you want to be careful in situations like that, not to take it too serious, not to necessarily jump to respond. Just let it be and see if it comes back up again. Now, sometimes they're just checking to see if they can rattle you, right? So maybe a seller says, well, why should I list with you? I think maybe I should interview and find an agent that doesn't cost so much. No, he might just be testing you. And then other times it's not actually an objection at all. It's a true and legitimate condition. You know, if a seller said to me, you know, I can't sell my house right now because I'm going to be having surgery, I'm going to be in the hospital, I have a long recovery, that's a true condition. But if a seller says, I'm going to wait because I'm thinking the market might get a little bit better, well, obviously that's an objection. And sometimes you have to dig a little deeper with your questions to really get to the heart of which one is it. And when I sat down and thought about it, I thought, you know, there's roughly about 12 to 13 buyer objections and about 12 to 13 seller objections. And as we said a moment ago, for the most part, they never change. So why not learn the responses and be prepared? And I don't even think today we need to worry so much about 12 and 13 for buyers and 12 and 13 for sellers. Instead, just think about right now, today, in the current market, what are the top 3 to 5 that you're receiving over and over again? And just start perfecting your responses for those 3 to 5 first and foremost. And let's just start off with have one great response for each. Now, when you go to your members website, we have 80 pages plus of scripts there for you. and they cover just about every topic you can imagine. And most of them have a matching audio. And I do think it's really effective to actually read the script and then listen to the script. And I know some of you are more visual learners, some are more auditory learners. Why not do both? You know, I used to carry the scripts in my briefcase or purse so that if I'm sitting at a dentist office or, you know, waiting out in front of a home to show a client, I would read those scripts over and over and over again, and I would read them out loud. Because see, someone told me that actors and actresses, the way that they memorize their scripts is they read them out loud and then they read them over and over and over again, faster, faster, faster. So I found that if I read the scripts and I listened to the scripts as I drove around town, I really began to internalize them. And some of our clients even put them on cue cards, because remember, we're talking about 3, 4, or 5 objections that they're working to memorize and practice. And I even encourage you, record them in your own voice, because I read once that when you're listening to a recording that's your own voice, your brain actually is more likely to absorb it. And I'm confident when you get them down, when you get them wired, you're going to prospect more because you know you can handle anything. All right, so what happens though when we get hit with an objection? Don't flinch and don't overreact. Stay in rapport. You know, if you're going along and you feel your listing appointment is going just fine and great, and then suddenly out of the blue, the seller says, well, I just want you to know, I'm going to expect a significant discount on the commission because I'm not going to pay. I'm just not going to pay. Well, if you flinch, if you frown, if you squirm, if you seem uncomfortable, then it breaks rapport. So I think of it this way, like flat line on a heart monitor. Just stay neutral. I just try to stay neutral. I say, okay, well, am I hearing you correctly in thinking that you're really looking to net the most money possible? Well, exactly. I want to net the most money. That's why I don't want to pay much commission. You know, I can understand why you would bring this up. If I were you, I'd be asking the same question or having the same thought. And yet, if you take a look at the fact that when a truly professional, aggressive salesperson like myself pulls out all the stops to do everything under the sun to market the home to attract the best buyer who's willing to pay the highest possible price, ultimately, that's what nets you more. So, Mr. and Mrs. Seller, I understand if you could get the same service by going with a flat rate or discount or cut rate agent, of course you'd want to do it. And yet, when you look at the results that I shared with you today, how I sell almost 100% of my listings, and I sell them often for well over the asking price. I think you might agree, I pay for myself. And here's a great thought. You know, when you choose me today, you're not writing a check. You're not paying a dime. All you're simply doing is engaging my services. I have all the risks to go out, spend money, spend time, and do what I need to do to deliver an offer that you will find acceptable. And then I have to get us safely through the transaction and get you paid. Only then do I get paid. So by choosing full service professional like myself today, you're not spending a penny. I put everything to work for you. And if the offer is not acceptable, if you don't net what you choose, you don't take it. So let's do the right thing today. Let's put everything in motion to find that ideal buyer who will pay the highest realistic price. See, I found that that one often works to remind them that they're not paying me anything today. They really have no risk. But you notice I just stayed really calm, just calm. Because guess what, guys? They do have the right to question. They do have the right to object if they choose, and we would probably do the same. So very calm. I try to approach it logically, and I don't want it to become a ping pong match. I'm not trying to win. I'm trying to get under that limiting belief and help them see the logic of moving forward. So one of my favorite lines, and let's face it, we would all get tense and a little bit annoyed if somebody's attacking us just a bit or putting a stumbling block between us and having that transaction go together. And that's why just by saying, you know, I'm so glad you brought that up. Let's talk about it. See, just by saying that, I calm myself down, right? So I stay in rapport, I stay in agreement, they feel heard and listened to, and I calm my own emotions. Now, again, if you think the objection is minor and it's not at the point where you're asking them to sign an agreement, they might just be venting. So I wouldn't say much unless it comes up a couple of times, right? Now, when handling objections, let's follow this pattern. Repeat back a little bit of what they said to show them you're listening. Acknowledge or approve as is appropriate, and ask a clarifying question. So if they said, for an example, you know, I'm thinking I should interview a few other agents. Okay, so you're thinking of interviewing agents. You know, I can understand that this is a big decision. See, I didn't say, you're right, you should go interview agents, but I'm still able to acknowledge, I can understand why this is a big decision. May I ask you, is there anything about what you and I have discussed today that you feel has left an unanswered question? So for example, do you feel comfortable and confident that I can sell your home? Do you feel that the marketing that I shared with you is appropriate? Is there anything you think I'm missing? Okay, good. Now, what about price? Are we in agreement when it comes to price? Great, I agree. And then commission. Tell me, are there any remaining questions about commission? And if they say, no, 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 everything is fine, you know, then Mr. and Mrs. Seller, there really isn't a need to interview, because people interview when they're seeking a right professional to assist them. And it sounds like you found him, me, right? So let's do the right thing. Let's take the next step and get the home on the market. Okay, but you might be asking, what if you go down that list of questions and they say, well, yeah, I don't want to pay the commission that we discussed. I want to pay less. But see, now I know. Okay, now I know what the true objection is, so I can dig in here and I can work to handle it. So everything I just said and many, many more scripts are in the scripts on your members' website. So when I ask that question, you know, tell me, do you feel comfortable and confident I can sell the home? Is there any more that you would like to see done with the marketing? Do you have any questions about pricing? Are we in agreement? See, those are all clarifying questions. So you might need to go 3, 4, 5 questions deep to really be certain that you've gained an understanding and to determine what is the limiting belief that's causing that, and can we get underneath that belief to change their thinking. And then you handle the objection and you close again. And you repeat the pattern if needed. So handling objections shouldn't be a ping pong match or you'll lose. Instead, very gracious, very calm, and very logical conversation. And as you go through the objection and you're asking these clarifying questions, it not only gives you answers, what it also does though, is it helps them self-realize their own answers. So let me give you another example. let's say that they tell me, well, this agent X said they would take the listing for 1% on the listing side. Wow, really? Interesting. Tell me, did you have to kind of beat them up for that? Did you have to ask, and were you pretty aggressive in order to get them to agree to that? And maybe they say, no, not at all. They just volunteered. Huh. So the money that they use to support their family, they just voluntarily gave it up? Does it make you wonder if they can't negotiate on their own behalf? I wonder how strong they're going to be negotiating on your behalf. You see, haven't they just indicated that they're a pretty weak negotiator? And you see, I'm not. I'm strong. I will fight for you. And that's exactly why I will not take a listing at 1%. Doesn't give me the resources to spend the time and money I need to spend. And I would never shortcut you in that way, as they may be planning to do. I would never shortcut you, and therefore I cannot do it at that percentage, right? So again, I'm asking questions. I'm helping them self-realize. And I actually just used this on a neighbor of ours recently. He had a property, he was selling out of state, and he's kind of a wheeler dealer type of guy. And he was bragging to me that he got the agent to drop the commission 1% on the listing side. And I used this one on him. And I said, so what do you think? Do you think he's really a strong negotiator? And he said, oh my goodness, I didn't even think about that. How do I get out of that listing, right? Because he realized, yeah, if that person is that weak, are they actually going to fight for me? So as you're asking your questions, as you're handling these objections, we want to stay in rapport. We want to mirror and match their rate of speech. Although you'll notice that when I get to that nitty gritty, or there maybe is a little bit of conflict going on and I don't want that, I want to diffuse it, I'm very calm. I'm very measured in how I speak. Because see, when you talk fast, you raise their anxiety and tension, and also they can't keep up with you. So remember, think flat line on the heart monitor, be very calm. And it's also a great idea to use question softeners, like, I'm curious, I was wondering, may I ask, please tell me more. So then it doesn't sound like an interrogation. Come from this tone of curiosity, not a tone of judgment. Stay calm, control your emotions and expressions, even if the objection irritates or offends you. Now you might say, but Debbie, a minute ago when you said, really, they agreed to take 1%? See, I want them to see my emotion in that case. I want to be like shocked, puzzled, like, wow, that's kind of crazy. So it was calculated, right? But otherwise, we want to stay calm, control emotions and expressions, and realize just because they brought it up might not be that big of a deal. They may just feel the need to check it off the box. Have you ever gone to like a garage sale or an antique store of some type, and you know, you see this item and you know you really want it, you kind of think the price is fine, but you still feel like you need to say, is this your best price? Primarily because you want to check the box and say, yeah, I was a good consumer. I tried to get the price down, but I couldn't, and I still want it. And that may be exactly what's going on with them. Okay, so let's role play a few more of the key objections and best responses. I think I should wait to buy because the market is just too competitive. Well, Mr. Buyer, you're right. Because you see, I always want to start with agreement. Mr. Buyer, you're right. It is a competitive market. And when you think about the fact that interest rates are at an insane and historical all-time low, it really makes it much more affordable than it has for many, many years. So tell me, if the perfect home came along, could you buy it today or next week? Because you see, I want to see if there's a condition here. Do they have their money? Is their credit okay? And if they say, well, yeah, I could buy it, I'm just thinking I'm going to wait until the market is less competitive. Then I might ask, when are you thinking that will be? Well, I don't know. Maybe after the elections. Okay. Well, I study the data every day. I study the market every day. I haven't seen any predictions or indications that the market's going to become less competitive. I'm curious, what have you read? Because I'd love to see it. Well, no, I haven't read anything. I just thought it might. Well, it's not likely, and it's also a great time to grab that low interest rate. What if we did this? What if we just started shopping for a home and took our time? Because you never know how long it might take to find the perfect house. Because you see, I know if I can get them off the fence and out looking at property, I have a much better chance that they're going to find something, the emotion's going to tip them, and they're going to buy it. Well, I want to look around on my own. I'm just going to look on my own, or maybe even work direct with the listing agents. You know, I can understand that by, with Zillow and Realtor.com and all those resources, it makes it easy to do your own looking and shopping. And yet, here's the thought. What about the properties that are not on the market yet, that are being prepared for sale? You won't have access to those. I often do, though. And also, when I take on a buyer, which I only work with a couple at any given time, I actually go out into the community. I send letters, I prospect, I call top agents, I look at expireds for sale by owners, withdrawals, and canceleds. I leave no stone unturned to find you an exciting home and a unique opportunity. So you see, if you work with multiple agents, they're not going to do that for you because they know you're not loyal. And that's why I'm asking. It doesn't cost a penny for you to have all of those terrific services from me. Will you at least give me an opportunity to show you how hard I'll work for you? Now, on the part about going direct to the listing agent, I would again say, well, I can understand why you might bring that up. And yet, if you think about it, who is the listing agent obligated to represent? Right? They have the relationship with the seller. So wouldn't it be best to have someone on your team? Right? So remember, logical and calm. Well, I want to make a lower offer than the list price. Well, in certain times in the market, that might be okay. Right now, it's actually probably so not okay that it won't get the home for them. So I would say, well, if you would like to do that, I will certainly write that up for you. However, if you remember when we spoke about the market, and I explained to you that we would need to look at the list price of the house, a little bit like the opening bid at an auction, and that most of the homes today are selling well over the listed price. Now, so I know the agent told me there are multiple bids coming in on this property already. That's kind of just the way the world is right now. So let me ask you this. What is the most you're willing to pay to hopefully ensure another buyer doesn't take your home away? Well, then we should do that. Because wouldn't it make sense to put your best foot forward so that if you don't win the property, you will have no regrets because you will know you did everything you were willing to do. And whatever number they tell me, I say, okay, we can offer that. If you were to get a counter offer though, would you consider increasing your offer? And if they say yes, I say, well, it's up to you, but you might want to do that now. because sellers do not have to give you a counter, and we may only get one shot at it. Now, if they keep making offers lower and they keep losing properties, then I'm going to have the heart-to-heart and say, Mr. and Mrs. Buyer, I need to educate you again. I need to let you know that what we're doing is not going to work. And you're going to get frustrated and you're going to get angry. And if we can't change how we're working on these offers, I may not be able to help you, right? So we want to get a hold of them, and we want to help them think about it this way. If I love the house, if it's not easily replaceable, and with interest rates being so low to finance just a little more, isn't it worth it to pay what they're willing to pay to hopefully ensure another buyer doesn't take their home away? Well, I think prices might drop after the election, so I'm going to wait to buy. You know, who knows, right? No one has a crystal ball. And yet, if we look at some of the factors that often cause prices to drop, lack of demand for homes, well, that's not happening, right? There's just not even enough supply to meet the demands, and that pipeline is full. So that's not ending anytime soon. And if you look at the fact that it's the same across the entire country, I think that tells you it's more than a local market aberration. And when you look at interest rates being at an all-time low, you know, it just makes it more affordable. So I don't know what data you're reviewing. I would love to look at it. I just don't see it. I don't see a trend that indicates prices are going to drop. So you have to stop and think. Right now, you're paying your landlord a lot of money every month. Wouldn't you rather be paying that to pay off your own home, right? So again, just logic. I think of it like the iron fist in the velvet glove, right? Well, I want to ask a really high price for my home because the market is hot. Guess what, guys? It is. So be careful on this one. They like to shoot the messenger when it comes to pricing. They've already gone online. They've gone on Zillow, Realtor.com. They've already checked out and decided probably what they want to list it for. So I would say, well, I don't blame you. I don't blame you. It's a nice home. And if I were you, I'd want to get exactly what you want, the most possible out of the home. So let me ask you, if I may, what is that price? And if I listen to it and it's super high, I might say, okay, so tell me, if the home wouldn't sell for that price, what would you want to do? Well, I don't know. I mean, I have to sell it. Okay, so if we were going to test the market with that price, how long would you like to test the market for? Okay, a couple of weeks, perfect. Because you see, we don't want to rack up days on market. Or guys, if I have to, and I have to talk them off of this really high price, one of the ways I might discuss that is by looking at all of our competition. You know, I was just talking to my husband about this morning. He has one that's too high. And I said, run everything within driving distance where a buyer would look. Run everything in their square footage size, in their general price point, and run it on a one-line print so that they can see address and price, address and price, address and price. So he happened to run it, and in this one particular area, there's a lot of inventory. There was 32 houses that might be in competition with them. And when we looked at the lineup, they were number 31. So very close to the most expensive. So you may have to have a little bit of strategy, a couple of different approaches. Just be careful how you navigate this one, because they do like to shoot the messenger. I need to interview a couple more agents. All right, well, I know it's important. I'm curious, do you already have those interviews set? Well, yes, I do. All right. So were you going to keep those interviews because you truly felt you needed to speak to them, or because you felt guilty about canceling them? Well, yeah, I like to be a person of my word, so I didn't want to cancel them. I understand. And yet, here's something to think about. You know, you'll probably end up listing with me. Most people do. and it seems that we have a good plan and good rapport. Would you agree? Yeah, I feel I would work well with you. And so what's likely to happen is you'll meet with them and you won't choose them. And then when you don't choose them, they'll be mad. And if they're mad, they won't show the home. What I would like to propose is instead, out of respect for their time and their life, that I give them a call. I let them know that you decided to list with me and that you didn't want to waste their time, but we wanted to offer the opportunity to be one of the first to show the home. See, then I can get them on my side. So I've got a couple of different ways to handle that one for you in the scripts. Will you cut your commission? So first of all, please don't volunteer. Okay, don't walk in and volunteer. At least make them ask you. And then you can look at our commission objection handlers in our script book. You can talk about how you're not making the full amount, how you share with the buyer agent, you share with your broker, you pay your marketing costs. So at the end of the day, there's very little profit left. And you want to do the right things to make their home saleable. You also might talk about the one where you're not paying me a dime now. You're just simply paying me when I find the right buyer, the right offer, and successfully close the transaction. So I have several for you. And I think that if you would just get 2 or 3, you'll be fine. Most important though is don't volunteer. Okay. So buyers are feeling like the competition is inflating the prices of homes. I get it. And yet if you say to a buyer, you know, you chose a great area, you have good taste, and therefore other buyers want to live here too. And because there's such a wave of demand, I don't feel that the prices are artificially inflated at the moment. It's just that low rates make it very affordable to buy. So what if we do the right thing? What if we just go out and look? I know you have your pre-approval. I know you're thinking of waiting 2 or 3 months. Let's just get an education. Let's just go look at a few. Because see, what I found, guys, is it's such an emotional thing that if you can get them out there and get them started looking at property, they're more likely to tip, you know, to get excited, want to see some more. But if they're just sitting in their house, not so much. Okay. And I think we've handled this one, you know, from a buyer or seller perspective. And the bottom line is no one's going to know what's going to happen after the election. No one knows when COVID's going to end and what's going to happen there. All we know is what's happening today. And today there's a lot of opportunity in the real estate market. So lenders are shifting gears. So it's going to be a little trickier on your existing deals. So talk to your buyers on a daily basis. Make sure that they're up to date on what's going on in the market. They're doing what they need to do to get the loan. And think conversion, right? So how do I show up with a great attitude as I go on these appointments and I prospect and practice? What is my approach? That's the great scripts and objection handlers. And what am I expecting to get? Am I just there expecting a meeting, or am I there expecting to get that contract signed? So if you're not closing 98.2% of your buyers and sellers, you still have some work to do. And remember, there's always that next level of mastery. Selling is an art. Words matter. Practice doesn't make perfect. Perfect practice makes perfect. So listen to the audio, read the scripts, and just commit to practicing 15 to 20 minutes a day. And if you're not already in private coaching with us, which of course I know many of you are who are watching this now, but if you're in the group program and you're not in private coaching with us and you're feeling like you need a little extra help, just know you can always reach out to find out what it looks like to work with us on the private coaching side. And remember, when you're in private coaching, forward momentum is already included. So forwardcoaching.com/consult if you're not in private coaching and would like to talk to us. So have a great day, guys. And remember, it's only 3, 4, 5 objections. drill, practice, and rehearse and get really great at them. And thank you for joining me. Bye-bye.